Thank you Aliyah Rav, Sly Guy Triple Z, Muhammad Motala and Teeny the Boo. Your loyalty and membership means a lot. This is the first part of What If Scorpion Tried to Revive the Shirai Ryu. I hope you enjoy. Hanzo Hasashi was one of the highest-ranking members of the Shirai Ryu clan. His name has been inscribed in the historical records of the clan since the dawn of its inception. He was around for the stasis period, post-stasis, survived the Great Freeze, assisted in the second fall of Shinnok, and fought in the 10th MK tournament. He's died 3 times and still walks the earth to this day. He has not given up on the Shirai Ryu. It is all he knows. After Shelia temporarily dissolved the Shirai Ryu, the rights to the clan were officially reverted to him. However, as per Order 17, an order added by Shelia, everyone who joined the clan under her is no longer a member. So, he spent the past 5 years rebuilding the clan as best as he possibly could. Many from all over Earthrealm as well as other realms have come to join the clan, especially after the dismantling of the Brotherhood of Shadows. Today, that warrior has been personally requested by a client who's been on the same path of deceit and revenge that he once took. As he traverses the barren fields, he reminisces on the mistakes of his past. He shakes his head as the images of Bai Han's corpse kept replaying in his mind. He didn't live that life anymore, yet it still haunts him to this day. He never properly exacted his revenge as Chan and his group had already killed Quan Kai and the Sisterhood. Screams of pain and the clash of swords over the hill caught his attention. He rushes to the top of the hill overlooking the commotion. Below was the warrior, Kenshi, fending off the group wielding blades unlike anything Hanzo had seen. Blades made of light similar to a lightsaber from the Star Wars movies yet styled in the form of a small katana. Beside the warrior was a young boy, about 8 years old wielding a knife. He was shaking while attempting to keep the men away from his father. But anytime one of the assassins tried to attack the boy, Kenshi would quickly dance around his son and cut them down. You cannot keep this up, Kenshi. The human body will always wear down, one of them said as he slams his hand against Kenshi's sword. The claws along his fingers gave him both an advantage and disadvantage against the swordsman in terms of speed and distance, respectively. Blindness is also a hindrance to the human body, yet it is your warriors who fall to my feet, he responds. Hanzo pulls out his katana and leaps over the group of assassins. As he lands, he begins cutting them down one by one. Though the assassins proved to be ruthless, Hanzo and Kenshi had the upper hand as they were far more skilled in their use of the sword. As their numbers began to dwindle, their commander orders them to take on a different approach. Before they could, however, Hanzo throws a smoke bomb onto the ground and disappears. Where did they go? He can't teleport, one of the men said. On the contrary, he can. They can't be too far though, the commander said. He pulls out his pager and sends a message to Dagon, notifying him of Scorpion's arrival. Jerks his arm downward, knocking the blood away from it. He stands up and looks around at the bodies of their enemies scattered throughout the jungle. You didn't kill those men back there. Why? Kenshi asked. For one who can read the mind, you still fail to understand one's heart, he responds. Just yours, Scorpion, he responded. Hanzo lowered his head as he reminisced on his fight against Chan during the 10th Mortal Kombat Tournament. He had finally learned the truth of his family's murder, but the deed had been done. Bai Han was dead. Kenshi placed his hand on his shoulder. Take Takeda with you, you're the only one who can help him now, Kenshi stated. When are you coming back? Takeda asked. It should only be for a few days, son, he responded. Takeda spaced out for a bit before nodding. He looks at Hanzo. Can I train with him while I'm there? Kenshi seemed reluctant, but after the recent conflict, he decided it was for the best. You better be ready to help me take the Red Dragon down, he responded. Takeda smiled and nodded. When you come back, I'm going to be strong enough to protect you and Mom. I won't run away again, he proclaimed with a fist pump. Hanzo turned away from him and lowered his head. Kenshi took notice as he hugged his son. I will keep him safe, Kenshi, he reassured. Kenshi nodded. It was the next morning. Takeda was sleeping peaceful in his bed, dreaming of the better days he spent with his mother. She places her hand over Satoshi's chest and shakes him. Wake up, Takeda. Takeda's eyes opened. Hanzo stood over him, holding his shoulders. Takeda rubbed his eyes and raised up. Hanzo walked to a nearby dresser where a freshly made Shirai Ryu uniform lied. He tosses it onto Takeda's bed. It is time for you to get dressed. Come outside when you are done getting cleaned and dressed, he told him. No good morning, how are you doing, or nothing, he complained. Your tongue is too sharp for your age, boy, he retorted. Get dressed. Hanzo walks from his room saying nothing more. Hanzo walks outside of the Shirai Ryu building and embraces the brightness of the sun that graced the Himalayas they resided at. He takes a small stroll around the encampment, surveying the growth of his clan. He continued to be impressed with the help of a man from Sundu who was knowledgeable in architecture. His advancements in the art helped the clan's growth progress much faster than Hanzo expected to. Along with him were some failed architect grads who sought to practice under the Shirai Ryu. He walks past them waving and comes across some of the warriors training with one another in their use of hand-to-hand combat. Another set of warriors across from them were practicing ninjutsu skills. Closer to coming back around to the main residential building was the tailor warehouse where a few of the members were creating more uniforms to prepare for new recruits. All of this was made possible thanks to the efforts of the special forces, who were assisting in helping the clan earn sponsorships for taking in orphans and children in need after the Brotherhood Incident. Hanzo returns to the main residential building as sees Takeda stepping out in his new uniform. The yellow and black outfit reminded Takeda of the yellow jackets that would roam around his parents' yard. Hanzo nods and beckons everyone forward. Everyone, I'd like to introduce you all to our newest member, Takeda Takahashi. Everyone around seemed to have mixed opinions of having a boy of his age being part of the Shirai Ryu. The clan was no place for a child. Among them were thieves, killers, assassins, and people that no child should ever interact with. Worry not, for his stay here is temporary. However, he will always be welcome to return to us at any time. Do not take his innocence as a liability. He has taken out one of the men who came to assassinate his father, who is an exceptionally strong swordsman. Master Hanzo, one of the student called. Would it be okay for Takeda to train with me? Forest Fox, Hanzo called, your request has been granted. Hanzo signaled the boy to come towards Forest. The two shake hands and other members come up to greet him. Make sure you give the boy a proper tour of the encampment. Make sure he feels at home. As a group of them starts to take off with the boy showing him around, Hanzo smiles. He stares at the both thinking about the life he must have had before the attack against his mother. Seeing his smile, the way he felt so comfortable amongst strangers, it reminded him of his son, Satoshi. Years ago Hanzo was enjoying his dinner with his family on the evening of Satoshi's 8th birthday. The boy had grown 4 feet 9 inches, much taller than boys his age. Happy birthday, son. Hanzo hands his son a small present. Harumi gestures the boy to take it, which he obliges. He opens the box with a smile on his face. Inside he finds a small hunting knife with carvings of the Shirai Ryu logo around it. Harumi's smile faded as did Satoshi's. You are becoming much older. It is time that you start learning how to hunt and gather food for the home. Is it really safe for a boy his age to use something like that? Harumi questioned. He will need to learn to hunt and defend himself. I will not always be around to protect him. If he can learn to hunt, it will help prepare him for his first lessons in becoming Shirai Ryu. Our son is too young to worry about such things, she says. He was never too young, Harumi. The world we live in is no longer weak like it once was. The Japanese population has not been seen favorably overseas after the Second World War and the Vietnam War. Whether Shirai Ryu or a government vessel, it will come a time when he will need to fight. I will do everything in my power to keep him away from the Shirai Ryu. He will not be used as a tool of murder by anyone. Harumi, my decision is final, she interrupts. She takes Satoshi's knife and puts it away. Hanzo slams his fist on the table. The pupils from his eyes faded to white, scaring her and Satoshi. Hanzo noticed their faces and saw himself in a nearby mirror. As his eyes return to normal, his mouth slumps down along with his head. He gets up from the table and slowly walks out of the house. Weeks later, Hanzo decides to take Takeda and Forest Fox for a stroll around the nearby city. Takeda had been feeling down for the past few days as his father had yet to return from his mission. What was promised to be a week-long rescue mission to bring Suchin back from the Red Dragon's grasp led to Takeda's reoccurring abandonment nightmares. Many of the Shirai Ryu members constantly told Hanzo of the sleepless nights and nightmare-fueled yelling from Chan's room that worried them. Some were feeling unsafe, awaiting the dreadful moment when he would snap and kill them all in their sleep. Hanzo took the time in his day to give the boy some fresh air outside of the Himalayas along with his newfound friend, Forest Fox. "Why are we walking around the city again?" Forest asked. "Mental cleansing," Hanzo responded. "Sometimes, we become distracted in battle because we fear death before it comes. We think of everything we could have done and everyone we will leave behind. These distractions flood our minds because we worry about things we cannot control. Therefore, mental cleansing is important for any warrior." "That's not what movies say," Takeda says. "Movies are fiction, Takeda. If you were to think about your father's absence instead of focusing on where you are going," Hanzo grabs Takeda before he accidentally crosses the road with oncoming traffic, "that mistake can be fatal." He redirects the boy back along the sidewalk and they proceed to continue walking along the block. Along the way, they come across a sort of hangout spot where a few loud teens were conversing with one another. Hanzo was hesitant to pass by the group but decided it might be a good learning lesson to see if the delinquents would distract Takeda and Forest. "What are those costumes?" one of them yelled. "Idiots, the comic convention doesn't happen here. Go back to where you came from," a female delinquent added. "We are Shirai Ryu, show some respect to those who've done nothing to you," Forest said. "The group that died twice. You all don't even respect allowing the clan to end with dignity," another mocked. Forest and Takeda place their hands on their blade. The delinquents stand up monitoring their actions. Hanzo quickly grabs the two boys and takes them away from the group. They still yell insults at them as they turn the corner. Further away from the corner, Hanzo releases the boys. "What did we just talk about?" Hanzo yelled. "They disrespected the dead, we can't let them get away with that," Forest said. "Yeah, no," Hanzo yells as smoke flows around his hand. "Anger only leads to destruction. Revenge is never the proper way to teach someone." "How do you teach that?" Takeda asked. "Everyone is worth redemption, Takeda. I could never forgive the Red Dragon for what they've done to my parents." "You will learn to. What are you going to do if I don't?" Takeda asked. "Do not test me, Takeda. Your anger is justified, but your actions will always have consequences that you did not ask for," Hanzo explained. "Like what?" Takeda asked. Hanzo sighs and places his hand on Takeda's shoulder. He remembers the last time he saw his family alive where he attempted to leave without telling them. "Years ago, where are you leaving to this time, Hanzo?" Harumi asked. "There are things from my past that must be taken care of, Harumi," he said remorsefully. "That's always the answer," she said. "I have been hunted by many of my past enemies for years now. And for years we have been dealing with your long personal journeys. For years, leaving us for long periods of time, having us waiting to get news on whether you are dead or alive, not knowing whether we would sit around hoping for your safety for decades or if we will ever get closure for your eventual demise. It is for our..." Hanzo stops himself as his volume elevated. He takes a deep breath. "It is for our protection. It is always for our protection, Hanzo," she responded sarcastically. She leans onto the kitchen table supporting her body's posture with her hands. "I cannot keep doing this," she tells him. "I will return, Harumi. I always do," he says. "No, you won't," she says. "Not if you leave this time. Where is your faith in me, woman? That is not..." She catches herself elevating her volume as well. "That is not what I mean." Hanzo lowers his head. Harumi lifts herself off the table and leans against the wall nearby. "So, what is it going to be?" Hanzo opens his mouth but remains silent as he sees his son Satoshi. Satoshi is seen listening in on the conversation. A tear rolls along Hanzo's face as he alternates his attention between his wife and child. With a heavy, somber sigh, he pulls his mask over his face. "You will accept me back home when I return," he says. "I know you will." As he leaves, Harumi could be heard crying along with Satoshi, who was asking where is dad going. "Help, someone." Hanzo snaps back to reality as he hears the cries for help back in the direction they'd just come from. That sounded like those kids from before, Forest Fox determined. The three of them run back around the corner and find the teens surrounded by a group of individuals dressed in all black wielding sickles. Their numbers were no larger than 6. Hanzo knew them. It was no mistake as he could see the symbol of the Brotherhood tattooed between their eyes. That's the end of part 1. If you enjoyed, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more gaming related what ifs.